Good morning. So today we're going to be studying Monday, titled The Evil of Envy. Question A. To what extent could Saul's response to David's mercy be trusted? So could it really be trusted? And why? Let's read in 1 Samuel 26, verses 23 to 25. 23 to 25. And the Lord render to every man his righteousness and his faithfulness. For the Lord delivereth thee into my hand today, but I would not stretch forth mine hand against the Lord's anointed. And behold, as thy life was much set by this day in mine eyes, so let my life be much set by in the eyes of the Lord, and let him deliver me from out of all tribulation. Verse 25. Then Saul said to David, Blessed be thou, my son David. Thou shalt both do great things, and also shalt still prevail. So David went on his way, and Saul returned to his place. And then chapter 27, verse 1. And David said in his heart, I shall now perish one day by the hand of Saul. There is nothing better for me than that I should speedily escape into the land of the Philistines, and Saul shall despair of me, to seek me any more in any coast of Israel. So shall I escape out of his hand. So David knew that he couldn't trust Saul anymore. And why was this? If you remember what we touched on yesterday, on Sunday, it was saying that he couldn't be trusted. Of course, it was saying that Saul was touched by David's kindness, by his respect. He was humbled. The Spirit of God was working with him. But what happened? Saul didn't close the door entirely. He left it just a little crack open. And through that little crack came again the suggestions of Satan. And those suggestions were awakened once again, and he couldn't be trusted. He was looking for David once again. Let's read the note. This second instance of David's respect for his sovereign's life made a still deeper impression upon the mind of Saul, and brought from him a more humble acknowledgement of his fault. He was astonished and subdued at the manifestation of such kindness. But the son of Jesse had no hope that the king would long continue in this frame of mind. Saul listened to every false witness, eagerly receiving anything that was detrimental to the character of David, hoping that he might find an excuse for manifesting his increasing envy and hatred of him who had been anointed to the throne of Israel. Every rumor was credited, no matter how inconsistent and irreconcilable it was with the former character and custom of David. So this envy that Saul had towards David, it was so big that he was just looking and listening to every little thing he could, and he didn't even bother to see if it was true. He would even add more to it in order to justify his envy towards David. Let's go to question B. Explain how the envy which spoils Saul's life is a common cause of wretchedness in many today. Proverbs 14:30. Let's go to Proverbs. Proverbs 14, verse 30. And it says, a sound heart is the life of the flesh, but envy is the rottenness of the bones. And then chapter 27, verse 4. If I remember correctly, here it's the verse that it says, but who can stand against envy? I think it's that one. Proverbs 27, 4. Yes. Wrath is cruel and anger is outrageous, but who is able to stand before envy? And here is the thing. It's I think this is one of the things that should also be, how can I say, noticed on children, that should be dealt with, because many times it starts as very innocent, like I want something that another person have, or I wish I had something that another person have. But when it goes on and on, it just turns into this kind of like a rolling snowball, that it just gathers more and more snow until it leads to what? Eventually it leads to revenge, it leads to murder. The note says here, it was envy that made Saul miserable and put the humble subject of his throne in jeopardy. What untold mischief has this evil trait of character worked in our world? Envy is the offspring of pride. So yeah, envy is the offspring of pride. When we're pride, like sometimes, like I said, it's just innocent, right? And if it is entertained in the heart, it would lead to hatred and eventually to revenge and murder. Satan displayed his own character in exciting the fury of Saul against him who had never done him harm. Envy and jealousy are like two sisters who blend together in their workings. Envy will lead a man to desire some good which another possesses, and will urge him to use every means in his power to bring down and injure the character and reputation of one in whose place he desires to be. Falsehood, hearsays, and slanderous reports are circulated, and everything that can be made use of will be employed to place the envied man in an unfavorable light before the people. Jealousy leads a man to suspect another of seeking to deprive him of advantages and position. And Saul, it says here, had both envy and jealousy. So let us be careful of this character traits, because if we don't take care of them now, we're gonna have the same end as Saul has, and that's not good. We have to continue in our Christian life asking God to show us things in our character that need to be changed, because we also have to remember, when we go to heaven, our character is the only thing that we're taking with us from this world. So it has to be in such perfect state that we are able to stand before God, because we must remember also that sin cannot stand in the presence of God. It perishes. So let's bear that in mind, and I'll see you tomorrow.